The National Unity Platform demands justice for 35 journalists. We have the report in our bulletin today. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Nahawe Kajur, and in the headlines. Over 42 heads of state are expected to grace President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni's swearing in. The National Unity Platform demands justice for 35 journalists. The IGP Ochola makes major shake-up. And the Democratic Republic of Congo declares end of new Ebola outbreak. And in our sports today, FIBA makes decision on Silverbacks postponed games. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's have the news in detail. The Minister for Presidency, Honorable Esther Mbayo, has announced that Uganda will hold the swearing-in for the President-elect Yoweri Kaguta Museveni on the 12th of May 2021 at Kololo Airstrip in Kampala. Our reporter has more.
President-elect Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was declared the winner of the 14th January 2021 presidential elections with 58.38% by the Electoral Commission, defeating over 10 presidential candidates that participated in the race. Addressing the media today at Uganda Media Center, the Minister for Presidency, Honorable Esther Mbayo, announced that Mr. Museveni will swear in on 12th May this year for his 6th term, and the function, which is expected on over 42 heads of state, will be scientific under the theme Securing Your Future. Minister Mbayo also highlighted on the achievements of the government in the ending 5 years, including rebuilding the economy, promoting democracy, among others. TV Africa News, Kachancho Mutavazi reporting.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, the opposition party, the National Unity Platform, has appealed to the judiciary to expedite the delivery of justice for 35 journalists whom it says were tortured while covering party activities. We have more.
According to NUP, the brutalized journalists have never been compensated and continue to face harassment from security agencies. A Press Freedom Index annual report released last week by the Human Rights Journalists Network Uganda indicated that police and the army topped the list of media freedom violators. Out of the 174 documented cases, police allegedly committed 104, while the Uganda People's Defence Forces had 31 cases. In February, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Martins Okoth Ochola, turned down a demand by the media to have the institution apologize for assaulting them. He said they beat the journalists to protect them from harm. Journalists assaulted by security operatives included Mr. Geoffrey Twesije of NTV, Miss Irene Abalo of Daily Monitor, Miss Shamim Nabakoza of Record TV, Mr. John Cliff Wamala of NTV, and Mr. Timothy Murungi of New Vision. During a press conference at their headquarters at Nagulu in Kampala, police spokesperson Fred Enanga said Mr. Ochola had commended journalists for the noble contribution.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, the IGP for police has made reshuffles in the police offices over the country. Our reporter has more.
Just 10 days to President Museveni's swearing in for a 6th elective term, Uganda Police Force has, in a major shake-up, moved hundreds of its top officers. According to sources from police, the changes, which take immediate effect, were informed by intelligence clues that some actors plan to disrupt the inauguration due on May 12. Yesterday, the police spokesperson Fred Enanga said the police advisory committee meeting was informed that unnamed political groups are mobilizing in all parts of the country to disrupt the swearing-in event. The transfer list shows that officers affected in the latest movements range in rank from Assistant Superintendent of Police to Commissioner of Police. The Directorates of Human Resource Management and that of Criminal Investigations and Crime Intelligence are some of the most affected.
Well, thank you so much, Kachanchu, for that report. Now, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has declared their achievements to the public in the period of 2016 to 2021 as a directive of President Museveni ahead of swearing in new term of office.
Recently, President Museveni ordered all ministries and government agencies to declare their achievements and failures in the ending term of 2016-2021. Today, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has responded to the President's directive, where Minister General J.J. Odong highlighted to the public what the ministry has managed to achieve in the last 5 years.
Amongst the police officers, we have 98 of their guns fingerprinted. We have 96 of the armed forces UPDF fingerprinted. We have only 46% of guns in private hands fingerprinted. So there are therefore gaps in the guns which we know and those which we do not know. Therefore, some of the cases that have been committed and have not been identified as a result of those unregistered guns.
General Odong said the ministry managed to strengthen the internal security of the country, setting up a police senior command and staff college at Bwebaja, among others.
As I did indicate earlier, one of the problems which we face is shortage of resources. But as and when resources are available, we will continue to improve these facilities. I know, for example, there are many houses which were covered with asbestos. We have successfully removed the asbestos and replaced them with iron sheets. But that is not good enough. We will continue to improve, but as I said, my officer will be able to talk more in detail about the plans to renovate those dilapidated police stations and police houses.
The minister also talked about welfare improvement program, where the government is building 1,020 staff buildings at Nagulu and over 22 health facilities have been set up.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now let's go for a quick break. We shall come back with more news. Welcome back for the breakfast. Still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In our international news today, the Democratic Republic of Congo moves to impose a state of siege on two violence-racked eastern provinces, brought praise from local leaders, but also sparked concern in a new country where the army faces allegations of rights abuses. We have the report.
President Felix Tshisekedi had said on Thursday that he was preparing radical measures for the Minno-Rich East, where an estimated 122 armed groups operate as a legacy of a state of the 1990s conflicts. Friday saw the president follow up with the siege announcement for North Kivu and Ituri provinces haunted by violence and armed groups and civilian massacres. North Kivu Governor Kali Kasivita thanked the president for a decision which he said responds to their expectations, stressing that he had repeatedly urged a national mobilization to deal with attacks in the Beni region of the province near the Ugandan border, which has borne the brunt of local unrest. The Congolese Association for Access to Justice also said it welcomed the move but called on Parliament urgently to pass legislation to prevent abuses which might stem from the imposition of a siege.
Well, moving on, 2 weeks after the death of Chadian President Idriss Deby, the ruling junta led by his son, Mahamat Idriss Deby, has appointed a transitional government to address international and domestic concerns. We have the report.
Since its establishment following the sudden death of the head of state, the Transitional Military Council chaired by Mahamat Idriss Deby, surrounded by 14 generals, is accused by the opposition and civil society of institutional coup d'etat and perpetuating a dynasty after 30 years of power of Idriss Deby Itno. Saleh Kebzabo, the main opponent of Marshal Deby, recognized the new authorities, and two members of his party, the National Union for Democracy and Renewal, were appointed to the posts of Minister of Livestock and Deputy Secretary General of the government. Another opponent of Idriss Deby Itno, Mahamat Ahmad Alabo of the Party for Liberties and Development, was also appointed Minister of Justice. Most of the Rego ministries remain in the hands of the Patriotic Salvation Movement, the party of the late president, according to the list announced on state television by the army spokesman, General Azem Bamandoa Agwana.
Well, moving on in our international news today, South Africa over the weekend revealed plans to ban the breeding of lions in captivity for trophy hunting or for tourists to pet in a bid to promote a more authentic experience. Let's have the report.
The decision was reached following recommendations contained in a study by a special government-appointed panel into the controversial practice that was studying the management and rules governing the hunting, trade and keeping in captivity of lions, elephants, rhinos and leopards. Environment Minister Barbara Creecy told a news conference that the report recommended halting and reversing the domestication of lions through captivity, breeding and keeping. The decision, which is yet to be formulated into policy, is likely to set the government on a collision course with the powerful multi-million-dollar lion captivity breeding industry.
Well, moving on in Myanmar, at least 8 people have been killed after security forces opened fire on some of the biggest protests against military rule in days 3 months after a coup plunged the country into political turmoil. We have the report.
Thousands of people in towns and cities across the country joined the protests on Sunday, calling for the global Myanmar Spring Revolution. 3 people were killed in the central town of Wetlet, and 2 were killed in different towns in Shan State in the northeast, according to 2 media outlets. The military seized power from the elected government of Aung San Suu Kyi and the ruling National League for Democracy in a coup on February 1st, triggered a civil disobedience movement of strikes and mass protests. The military has responded to the protests with arrests and lethal force and ignored calls from neighboring countries and the UN to end the violence.
Now, in our business news today, Uganda shillings has remained relatively stable with a bias towards appreciation in February and March 2021 due to increased inflows of the US dollar in the period under review by the Bank of Uganda. Our reporter has more.
In the new monetary policy report of April 2021, The Bank of Uganda says the shilling appreciated by 2.9% year-on-year and 0.1% month-on-month on a mid-rate of 3,662.9 shillings per US dollar in March 2021, compared to an appreciation of 0.3% year-on-year and 0.7% month-on-month in February 2021. The Bank of Uganda explains in its report that the appreciation was mainly driven by inflows from the offshores, NGOs, coffee export receipts, and non-financial institutions amidst demand from oil, manufacturing, and telecom sectors. On a trade-weighted basis, the nominal effective exchange rate appreciated by 2.1% month-on-month and by 3.6% year-on-year in March 2021. In real terms, the real effective exchange rate appreciated by 1.6% month-on-month and by 0.6% year-on-year in February 2021, largely due to a widening inflation differential as depicted in movements in the East African Community partner state currencies relative to the US dollar were mixed in the quarter to February 2021. The Bank of Uganda says the Tanzanian shilling was stable, slightly depreciating by 0.03% quarter-on-quarter to an average rate of 2,298.5 Tanzanian shilling per US dollar, while the Kenyan shilling and Rwanda franc depreciated 0.4% and 1.1% respectively to an average of 109.7 Kenyan shillings and 976.3 Rwandese francs per US dollar. In the near term, the exchange rate is expected to depreciate on account of worsening current account deficit and continued strengthening of the US dollar.
Away from business, in our health news today, the Democratic Republic of Congo officially has declared the end of the 12th epidemic of the Ebola virus on Monday after 3 months of resurgency in the east of the country, in the north of Kivu province. Our reporter has more.
The Democratic Republic of Congo Health Minister Jean-Jacques Mbungani on Monday made the declaration about the end of the 12th epidemic of the Ebola virus disease in the province of North Kivu in the Democratic Republic of Congo. He said that a total of 12 cases had been recorded with 6 deaths and hundreds of people vaccinated since the resurgency of the epidemic on February 7th in North Kivu. The biggest outbreak of Ebola was between 2013 and 2016, which saw 110,000 deaths in West Africa. Despite the announcement, the Democratic Republic of Congo's government has urged people to stay vigilant and maintain contact with surveillance teams who will continue to work with local health authorities in North Kivu.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. Now, in Africa Today Sports, FIFA has made a decision on the fate of the AfroBasket 2021 qualifier games that were not played during the last window due to health-related reasons involving silverbacks games. Our reporter has more.